All right. Good day. Good day. Can everybody hear me? Welcome. It is a sunshiny day here in Pittsburgh. Looks like rain's on its way though, but kind of nice to enjoy the warm weather. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully you can hear me here. Good. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get started with week 2, live lecture 1. Good morning. Good. Awesome. I finished up pretty much everybody's evaluations that were turned in since last night. So hopefully you got my feedback. If you have any questions, let me know. We're going to be building upon this project. So as you get my feedback, make the suggested changes going forward as you build upon each of your pages. Okay. A lot of you guys did pretty much pretty good as far as your editorial designs. There was some issues with alignment. I didn't have too many folio issues, but alignment was the big one, hierarchy, and just the ease and flow of the text. I did see a lot of baselines that were not aligned, and I showed how to do that in week 1 demo. So make sure you're reviewing that because that's super important. You want to make sure all of your baselines and your body copy align. Did you guys have any questions? Okay, we have a question here. We're not able to resubmit. Well, I have 3 sections of this class. So I do have a lot of students. So typically what I say is if you really missed the mark, let's say you got a lot of points deducted from a previous assignment the week before, I pretty much would want you to resubmit if you can, but if you only missed a few points, I do want you to revise it, but I cannot. I would say it would probably be a bad thing if everybody resubmitted, only because you're taking away the quality time I give to you guys going forward. So yeah. If you feel like if it's a ton of points, that's the issue there. So so I am flexible with that, but as far as if you missed not so many points, then obviously if I do that with everyone, it just would take forever to get through evaluation. So, but I do look at your past pages, and I do look to see if you made those suggested changes, for the future projects. So make sure you're doing that. Okay, very good. Yeah, definitely not, not bad to ask. And I've had other students ask about that too. So hopefully that clarified what it is. If I only have 1 section of this class, and it would be maybe a little bit more flexible, but yeah, I have 3 sections. That makes it a little bit harder, and I don't mind evaluating work. It just makes it pretty much takes a few days to evaluate normal work that comes in. I mean, you're talking about looking at every page. So, all right, so your discussion 2, you guys should get started. We'll take a look at that today. And assignment 2 and assessment due are due before midnight on Saturday, just like all the other assignments. You're just kind of building upon it, so make sure you're getting that in. Any other questions, concerns, anything you want to bring up at this point? Welcome, Misty. A good font, yeah, for body copy, or be specific about that. I know you were asking about that. If you're talking about body copy, stick with the classic serifs like a Baskerville or a Times New Roman. I would really stick with a serif just because it's easier to read in a magazine setting versus serif or sans serif. Yeah, I would go with I would go between 10 and 11 point size for your body copy. You don't really want to go, I wouldn't even go 12. That's a little bit large. If you're working for, say, you know, a magazine that's geared towards more an older audience, say like AARP, then 12 and up would probably be better. It just gets real big and clunky looking, and then you can't fit all of your copy within your articles as well. Okay, yeah, just make sure it's obviously readable. There's typically a 20% difference between the point size and the leading that you want to be in, taking note of. And I'll show you here. Let me see if I can pull something up here to show you guys this. Let's see, recommended leading. So you don't want it too much space in between. Here's a good example here, and I'm going to show this to you in a second. You don't want too much leading in between because that's too spaced out. You don't want to be too crammed in there either, because then it's hard to read. Here's a really good reference here, and this is showing you in 12-point type. So, you know, if you're using 10 or 11-point type, your leading is going to be a little different. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. So they're showing you a Myriad Pro on the left side, and the first number is 12. That's the point. That's the point size of the actual font. And then it says there's a slash there, so it's saying point size, and then the leading is 14.4. So you can see it's real tight. The middle one is difficult to read. You know, it's a default leading. The middle one is 12 points with 17-point leading, and then the right side column, the third column, is 12-point with a 22-point. The one on the left, the first column, is too tight, and the one on the right is too loose. The one in the middle is definitely a good ratio. So typically, say if you're doing like 11-point, you want to stay around 14-point leading. 11-point type, 14-point leading. Now, if your leading kind of spreads out when you do the baseline alignment, you'll need to change your preferences, your increments in your preferences, how I showed in your demo for week 1. It's a little tricky. So if you went with Arial 11-point, I would say 14-point leading. See how that looks? But once you align the baselines, sometimes that might change it up. I'll show you here in a second what I'm talking about. Yeah, because it's a little tricky. All right, so we're going to go into your discussion 2, read over it, see if you have any questions, and then we'll just get started with your assignment 2. That might kind of cross over into Thursday, so we might not have finished it up totally. You guys have a quiz for your assessments. We won't have too much for the assessments to really cover. Okay, yeah, I'll go over that because that seemed like it was an issue in some of your projects. I just wanted to start this off with a Paul Rand quote here. This is a good quote to start off with. It says, "To design is much more than simply to assemble, to order, or even to edit. It is to add value and meaning, to illuminate, to simplify, to clarify, to modify, to dignify, to dramatize, to persuade, and perhaps even to amuse." Okay, yeah, I'll touch upon that. That'll be something I'll take a look at here in a second. So, you know, it's not only our job to type an image on a page, but it's our job to make it flow very easily, to visually communicate easily to an audience. So that's kind of what this is talking about. It's much more than to assemble. All right, so let's take a look at your discussion 2 here. Some of you guys got started on here, I noticed. Go into your discussions here. Well, let's check into week 2 as well as your learning objectives. Some of these learning objectives we're just really going to be touching upon every week, so some of these are repeated. But for week 2, we're going to discuss how styles enable better design and a more efficient workflow. Identify and discuss the three strategies to create an efficient workflow to create a multi-page project. Create a design strategy for a multi-page layout utilizing principles of design. Those principles are important. Identify and discuss effective composition layouts utilizing an advanced grid system. Some of you guys struggled a little bit with the grid system too. With the spacing, proximity was a big thing I saw that was you guys struggled a lot with. A lot of even your ads for your assessment 1 were pretty, some of you guys had issues with proximity, and that's basically grouping sections together, allowing for the white space, allowing for that visual pause to create a balance and an easy flow of reading. A lot of you guys had elements that just flowed into each other, so all kind of, it was very crammed looking. Some of you guys did a great job, but I did see a lot of issues with that. Identify and discuss effective compositions utilizing an advanced grid system. Apply a well-defined grid structure to enhance visual hierarchy. Identify 4 and apply 3 advanced tools for formatting text over multiple pages to create a balanced layout. And then utilize complex character and paragraph style sheets to create consistent formatting on a multi-page layout. Again, those are some things that we're going to touch upon, just kind of carry through for your assignment 2 demo. So this week you will learn and apply advanced tools for formatting text over multiple pages to create a balanced layout, as well as utilizing complex character and paragraph style sheets to create consistent formatting throughout your magazine. Once you guys get the hang of that, it will become easier and more effective, and that's kind of what style sheets are there for, to kind of keep your workflow more effective and easier to manage. Keep it consistent too. So super important. All right, so there's a little animation, motivational animation there for you guys to take a look at when you have time. Let's go to your discussion here. So go ahead and read through the background. I'm getting a call here. Hold on one second here. Okay, I thought it was going to come through my computer. These sales calls coming in, it's crazy. All right, so read through here. This talks about your composition layouts utilizing grid systems. And like I said, some of you guys had some issues with that. This is a nice little kind of a revisit into different grid structures. So you have simple ones, manuscript grid, for instance. You can read about column grids, modular grids, hierarchical grids. So kind of check those out. Read through that. I'll give you a little bit of background here. So for the prompt, I'm going to read through this. Let me know if you have any questions. In the world of graphic design, where each creative professional is continually looking for ways to apply effective composition layouts faster and better, utilizing an advanced grid system can significantly speed up and improve your design time. Grids have many uses and are much more than just lines on a page. They create a structure for your layout, align and balance your multiple page layout, and shape your design in a way that helps you achieve your desired outcome. If you didn't have a grid structure, and sometimes certain ads call for no grid structure, if you want to show, chaos and, say it's a more younger of an audience and you don't want to kind of do a grid structure, and then that's appropriate. But grid structure, if you have is super important when you have a lot of information, say a website, for instance. So you're organizing a lot of that information, so it's not just floating around randomly on a page. That's when it becomes harder to read and follow. So that's the purpose of a grid structure. And once you have a good grid structure set, it's hard. You won't fail. It'll always be a success, and that's kind of what's nice about a grid. You really can't fail with a good grid structure. So for this discussion, you will research and discuss ways grid systems are used to create an effective composition layout. You're going to choose one example of a 2-page magazine layout, so a double-page spread, or an example of a 1-page advertisement, and post with your comments. So maybe the 1-page advertisement has a little section of body copy that shows a grid structure to it. So from the list below, you're going to identify which type of grid structure is being utilized. Is it the best type of grid to use to create an effective composition layout? Maybe you chose one that's not, and you're discussing why it's not working. So if so, why? If not, why? And how would you fix it using a different grid from the list below? Maybe you found a really ineffective grid structure for an ad or a double page spread, and you're kind of talking about how you can make that better. That's always kind of nice to look at too. We're not always looking at effective ones. It's always nice to look at ones that aren't working so we can see the other side of it. All right, so the different grids from the list below are manuscript grid, a column grid, a modular grid, and a hierarchical grid. So, you might want to kind of dig into each one of those. So what's a manuscript grid? What's a column grid? Modular and hierarchical. So for your initial post, the following are some helpful topics to think about carefully to set your research, to get your research started. What benefits do grids add to an effective composition layout? We just talked about that. How can a well-defined grid structure help solve design challenges and communicate design concepts efficiently? Do different grids restrict the designer's ability, leaving no freedom for creativity? Think about the opposite part of that perspective. And I just kind of gave you a little hint into that when I was talking about maybe designing for a younger audience. How can grids take the guesswork out of where to place things on your page? So those are some of the things that you might want to kind of hit upon when you're creating your post, your discussion post. So maybe you can even look at both sides of it, both perspectives of when a grid is useful and when it's not useful, and when you would not use a grid. So for your citation, you can find articles from expert graph designers that offer suggestions on how they apply effective composition layouts utilizing an advanced grid system. Obviously, you're going to be embedding your image so we can all see it when we click on your post or when we view your post. Don't forget to follow up on your reply requirements as well as your posting requirements. And then here's benchmark examples as every week are given to you guys, which is nice. So if you're stuck on how to approach this, like I say, every week, you can take a look at what an example from a past student, what their work would look like, a quality work. You might hear my puppy here. Trying to zoom out so you can kind of see the whole thing. All right, just kind of take note when you write any type of paper discussion, try to avoid using a citation at the very end of any paragraph. You want to at least add your 2 cents, your own words after posting a citation. That just kind of helps use your critical thinking skills, so you're not just copying and pasting the citation in there and then going on to the next thought. So posting your citation, if you have a quoted citation in there, add your, what your take is on it, kind of in your own words, kind of end that sentence before you go to the next. That's always a good thing to do, and something that I never really thought about until I was in my graduate studies and doing thesis papers, that advice was given to me. Here's the second one here. So here's another one. Citation is given here in the beginning of the post, but then obviously after that citation, the student is giving their own, in their own words, kind of the perspective taken on that. Any questions about that? So I would basically start kind of looking into all of these types of grids. And we're going to be talking about that in a little bit in detail as we go forward in the class too. I'll be kind of going over these grids as well. But, do some research and take a look at some different examples. Okay, sorry guys, I had to mute my mic. I'm gonna have to take my little guy up here in the crate so he's not bothering us in the lecture. Give me 1 minute here. All right, thank you for your patience here. My little puppy was getting into things he shouldn't have been getting into, and I thought I could trust him, but obviously that's not the case, right? Exactly. Yeah, he went into my daughter's room and actually had a little accident in there too, so that's why it took me a little longer. All right, fun times. Any questions about this? I'll be doing the carpet cleaner later on today here. All right, so let's go right into, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Let's get started with your assignment here. I know you guys are getting excited about this feature article, right? Did anybody get started on this yet? No, yes? Okay. So this is going to be your feature article. This is the big feature. So we want to make sure we make it look like the feature article. Still make it look like it's part of the magazine, obviously, but you know, this is the big article in there. So it's going to be more pages than the editorial, obviously. We're going to have a double page spread in there for you guys to really utilize. Maybe figure out some really interesting grid structures on that. You don't want it to be too copy heavy. So let me go ahead and open up where we stopped the last time in the, oh, actually, before I do that, let's take a look at your assignment details, duh. And then we will kind of start where we stopped before in the demo from last week. All right, so assignment 2, and this is again worth 120 points, so it's a big one. Your assessment 2 is a quiz. Yeah, give you a heads up there. So you're going to unleash the power of InDesign. All right, so what we're going to do is you're going to read through the background here. Just talks about the daily tasks that a graphic designer goes through with multiple page document, magazines, several articles are long and short. So it kind of gives you an idea of, you know, kind of what goes into creating a magazine and a balanced layout. It also talks about creating balance with advanced tools. So you have the nested styles, eyedropper tool, things like that kind of talked about in here. And so go ahead and read through that. And it says, good magazine design starts with understanding the fundamentals. The more you know, the faster you work. So be creative, look for new solutions and ways of thinking. And, you know, kind of understanding how to use the tools is super important as well. All right, so after completing the editorial article in week 1, it is now time to tackle the feature article, the main story in the magazine that explores a particular topic of human interest with details that makes for enjoyable reading. For this assignment, you will be designing your 4-page feature article. All of the assets required for your assignment are located in the week 1 assignment, so it's in that folder that you downloaded, hopefully. You'll be using the same magazine choice in week 1, obviously you're not switching. So the instructions for this assignment are download the feature article folder. In the 8-page document you set up in week 1, you will be using pages 3 through 6 for your feature article. So it'll actually start on the right-hand side page. Just gonna give you guys a heads up with that. Where is the magazine website located? I don't understand the question. What do you mean by that? You can put the website address in the folio. You don't have to. I would have the page number and at least the name of the magazine in the folio. I've had some of you put the web page too, if you want to do it there. And it would be kind of maybe on the inside spine if you're on the left page of your magazine ad, it would be on the right hand side because you want your page number obviously be on the outer side of the page. You know, so if it's the left page, you want the page number to be on the left bottom side. If it's on the right page, you'll have the page number on the right bottom side. So oh, what is the website? It doesn't really give you a website, so you would just obviously name it. Oh, I see what you mean. For the before the layout begins, following designs are okay. I didn't quite get to that part yet. You could just say fitme.com or remodeling.com. You know, it could be something very simple like that. Yeah, make it up. Yep. I'm sorry, I didn't quite get what you were getting to. I was kind of following along here. Once I got to that point, and then I would understand what your question, what your question was. All right. So you'll be using 3 to 6. All copy provided for the feature article. All images provided for the feature article. Additional images are not approved. Use linked text frames to connect feature copy from page 3 to page 6. And then before layout begins, the following design elements must be established. So you're going to create a second master page to include the following folio elements: page numbers, magazine logo, current month, year, magazine website. Define a baseline grid to align your text and images. Create a new paragraph and character styles and apply them to the following: headline, article intro, author byline, body copy, bulleted, numbered list, drop cap, 1 required, subheadings, pull quotes, 2 required. So it sounds like a lot of information. You guys are really going to have most of your time this week designing these 4 pages because you have a quiz for the assessment, so you're not doing 2 design projects. So what we'll do is we'll just take our time today and go through this, and whatever we don't get to, we'll kind of finish up on Thursday. When you're done, package your InDesign file, include a PDF. Some of you guys had problems with this, so make sure you're packaging your InDesign file as shown in the demo. Some of you guys, I don't want to say names, no. I've had some people that just gave me the InDesign file and a PDF and no like fonts or images or anything like that. It wasn't actually like a package folder. It was zipped, but it didn't have the linked images or fonts in it. Then I have some of you who just sent me a PDF too. So just kind of be mindful of that. I want to see that you know how to package your file. You should know. It's very easy. So if you're having issues with that, let me know. Obviously I don't want you to feel like, oh, it should be easy. Why don't I know this? But if you're watching the lectures, hopefully, if I'm doing it correctly and very slowly for you guys and easily for you guys to understand, you should, get it. So, all right. So there's some benchmark examples here that you can check out. But do you guys have any questions so far in this? I'm going to kind of attempt this with my magazine. That way you guys can see how I would approach this. All right, so I'm going to open up my, where we left off the last time we all were here. Okay, so you guys basically design page. I'm going to zoom out here. And you should have yours set up like this. It's facing pages. So you did page 2 and page 7 this past week. For this week, you're gonna start on page 3. So you're gonna start here. Let me get my pages out here. So you're gonna start on page 3. And we're gonna make this, we're gonna end up making a new master page anyway. So we're gonna we'll kind of get to that here in a second. 250, I think I've taught 250. What is that? Remind me here. Misty, sorry, she's privately messaging me. Sorry, I didn't see that was a private message. All right, just, oh, no, I haven't. I have not. I think I was going to, and then it changed my schedule. All right, so you're gonna start on page 3. And then 4 and 5 will be your double page spread. And then your last page will be page 3, 4, 5, 6 will be page 6. So you're going to do 3, 4, 5, 6. So you really want to make a nice focal point on page 3. You want to make the inside spread look also very well balanced with image and text. You don't want it to be too text heavy. And then you want to make sure it's balanced on page 6. You know, some of you guys might, I think the Remodeling magazine has a lot of copy versus like the other publications. Just kind of be aware of that. You might need to make your images a little smaller. But these are the pages that you're going to be designing for this editorial. So I'm going to zoom in here. And remember how I said, you know, make a signifier, a tab of some sort. A lot of you guys did a great job with that. Just make sure it's consistent. So, you know, wherever you have this set, and I can show you a really cool thing to look at here. If you go to your properties box in Windows, so if you go up to Windows and choose, let me see where it was under, just properties right here. This will show you where this is actually sitting. And what I mean by that is, see how it says transform? There's an X and Y coordinate here. And, oops, I was moving this around. It's gonna tell you where this is sitting. Yeah, let me shift this so my normal view here. So if I were to go up or down with my up or down arrow, see how that number in Y changes? So right now it's set on 0.5. It's right here. So that's telling you it's sitting on 0.5 inches. So what I would do, I would go to my page 7. A lot of you guys had issues with this. Make sure that your signifier on page 7 is on the right-hand side of the page. You don't really want it on the left-hand side because it's by the binding here. You want it to the right-hand side. But click on that square, whatever you kind of created, and make sure it's, and see mine's a little off here. Make sure it's the same number. So 0.5 would be, it's slightly off on mine, would be on the Y coordinates. And that's just to make it consistent. So any type of signifier that I do on my editorial, I need to keep that consistent. It's just better to be consistent. So with that being said, you know, that's maybe the first thing that I'll do. I'll just kind of copy and drag this over. And make sure it's setting on 0.5. And then obviously this needs to be aligned on my margin. And I would probably just take my, well, I probably will, I am taking my type tool and changing this to say feature article. And I'm going to change my, go to type, where's my character palette here, types and tables paragraph. I'm going to go types and tables paragraph, and I'm going to change my alignment from left align to right align. And then I can take my box then and have it aligned to my right margin right here. And then I'm going to change my fill. So if I go to my properties again, or over here, I can double click on this box or this box, and I can change, and I would change this to a different color, obviously, than your editor one. And whatever you change it to, just keep it consistent. I'm going to copy this. I would say probably you don't have to repeat it on the left side page here just because this is a double page spread. And people, you should already know that this is a double page spread with how your layout will look. So I would say just, you know, you will just need a tab maybe on the right side page here to know it's a feature still. And then over here on the very last page on the left side, since it's a left page. And then just make sure that your properties, it's all on the same baseline to keep it consistent. Okay, there we go. Any questions about that? Nope. Okay. So it's telling me in the instructions to create another master page, and then you're going to create in that new master page a second master page, which will have page numbers, magazine logo, current month, year magazine. I think that this might kind of screw you up a little bit. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to create a master page, but I think these instructions might kind of mess you up a little bit. What I mean by that is you already set up your master pages for all of your pages. So you really don't need to reset up a new master page unless you have repeating elements other than the page numbers from your feature article that you don't want on your other pages. So let's say, for instance, you have a repeated element that you want to always repeat. Let's say a design element. Let's say this box here. Okay, and or this line. Let's put this. Let me do this, a shape. We'll just do a random shape. Let's say we want this shape to be on all, actually, you know what? This is something I was going to show anyway. I'm going to do it on the top here. I'm going to do a shape on the top. It's going to be kind of like a thin line that I'm going to have bleed off on the top. And I'm going to fill it with a color. And I'll fill this with a color a little bit more. Once I place the images in, it'll be connected to the article a little bit more. But I'm just going to choose this color for now. So it's bleeding off a little bit right there. And I'm going to take my line and I'm going to drag my line through. I'm just making just something different, a little design element. I'm going to make that line white. So I'll pick my stroke. It's very thin, so you can't see it. Let me zoom in. You guys can see that. If I'm going to actually choose my stroke palette so I can change my characteristics here. So right now I have it set at 1. Let's set it at 2. And then I'm going to choose dotted. So I just have this neat little design element on the top here. Maybe make this a little thicker so if we have any trimming issues, it might not look weird. Okay, this is the bleed here. So that's at the top. Let's say this is repeated also at the bottom. So I'm going to just do an alt drag and repeat this at the bottom. The only thing I need to do is kind of bring this up to the top a little bit to center. There we go. This is a little bit too close to the folio, so I'm going to pull this down a little bit. And then I'm going to center that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me make sure this is aligning with my bleed. Say this is an element that I want repeated on every page, just on my feature article, not on every single page in my document. That's when you would want to create a second master page. So maybe it's just this border I just want repeated on my editorial. So in the master pages, see where it says pages? See how it says A master? What we're going to do is just go up to the right-hand corner of that and click on that little asset button. And we're going to say new master. And it's going to default it as a prefix B master page, and that's fine. Number of pages, we'll say 2 because you want to do the left or the right possibly. So we're going to click OK. Now you'll see a master page is the one that you set before with me and with your page numbers. Okay, we're going to have to do the page numbers again, so we're good. And then double click on B, and that's blank because we didn't put anything there yet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that design element that I want repeated, and we're going to copy this because this is what I want to be repeated. So I'm going to copy, I'm going to select all and copy, so Command C, because this won't repeat unless I have it on my master page. And then I'm going to go double click on my master page B, and I'm going to paste it in here. Now I want it repeated on the left and the right, so I'm going to go ahead and place this where it would be aligned on the left and the right. So I have to do an alt drag for copy, copy paste. There we go. Everything looks good. And then I need to put the page numbers in. So what I'm going to do is, this is the easiest way to do it because we don't have page numbers here. So if you were to place, say, you would set page master page B starting on page 3. You're not going to have your master pages set up. It'll just be blank down here. So we have to go double click on master page A. The easiest way to do this is just to go ahead and select the bottom 2 sections here. You don't have to group them. What I would do is go up to your properties again before you copy them, just so you know what the Y coordinates are. So see how the Y coordinates are set at 10.48. I would maybe just round this up to 10.5. Go ahead and change that so that it's easy to remember. So it's 10.5. That's the baseline it's sitting on. Go ahead and copy that. We know that. That's good. Then go back to your master page B, double click on B, and then I just did a Command C before I switched to B, and then Command V will paste that in. And then just go ahead and move that down to the bottom, go to your properties, and just make sure this is 10.5, so it's sitting on the same baseline. So I kind of just set it in there, but it says B now instead of A, and then save it. So you need that in there, or else it won't show your page numbers if you're going to set your pages to B. Does that make sense? So I'm going to double click on my page 3, and I'm just going to delete these because I don't need this anymore. Once I set this, it will be placed in here. I just kind of designed this, and then I copied and pasted it into my master B so that once I apply it, it's going to be applied here. All right, so see how my page 3 says A on that? That's telling me it's assigned master page A. Well, I want that to be B, and I want it to be B on the right side page. So I'm going to drag and drop B on the right-hand side page. Now, the only issue with that is it's actually giving me the left-hand side A for some reason there. So I'm going to have to figure out that out. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Let me save this. And let me just make sure this is set on A and that this isn't going to show. Okay, let me see here. Right on master page items. I'm not sure why that this is coming in here too. I'll have to figure that out. Should not be coming in there on the left-hand side. Do I have a double? No. Huh, very interesting. Never had that happen before. All right, let me change these 2 here for master page B left and master page right, and then I'll do left here and see if I come into any other issues down here. This may be doing the same thing down here. Nope, it didn't do it down here. Very interesting. Is it behind here? Nope. All right, so there's something going on with this up here that is different. Okay, it's set to B. Let me set this to B again, just in case. Yeah, that's really weird. I don't know why that's set. Let me save this. Let me stop sharing because sometimes the view is weird. So let me close this out and go back in. Maybe something happened here. Sometimes that happens. I don't know why that would copy that part in there. Okay, let's see if that worked. I just closed out and came back in. Nope, still there. I need to figure that out. I'm not sure why that's doing that. Okay, well, let me dig into that in a second here. It's not doing it on my other page. That's what's really weird. There must be some type of a linking thing going on. Let me see if I can figure something out here. Panel options. There's like a okay, let me try this again. We're going to set this to none. Okay. And now I'm going to try this again. Nope, it's still set. No, that's so weird. And what's really weird is it's not doing it down here for the left one. It's really strange. Let me see if I put the right one on, if it changes. Nope. There must be a setting that I'm not seeing on here. All right, well, I'll have to look into that. I don't want to spend too much time, but that's really, really odd. If you have that same issue, let me know. I'm going to dig into that. Like I said, you know, it should just repeat the elements on that right, not the left side. It's just really strange. Let me just make sure it doesn't have, nope, we're good here. Very strange, very strange. All right, well, we'll figure this out. It's one of those things. So just ignore this blue thing up here. I'll figure this out. We're gonna start, so that's how that would be repeated. For some reason, it's not doing it down here, which is telling me there's something going on with that, that setting. Maybe there's a setting I need to change there. All right, but that's how you would repeat that. And then obviously down here, you can see the page number still is following the 2, 3, you know, because we pasted that in there, 4, 5, 6. So that's good. So just kind of make sure you have that set. All right. If you wanted to set your columns before you even place in your copy, you could do that. All you would have to do is select your page in your pages, and then you would go to your layout, margins, and columns. And because you only selected this one page, it's the only one that's going to set your columns to this. So let's increase 2 columns. Let's say if you want to do 3 columns. This isn't going to give you type, actual type boxes. This is just going to set up margins to follow. So you can kind of, you know, if that's kind of what you want to do. And you can set, you know, your inside spread differently if you'd like to. All right, so what I would say is just go ahead and open that folder that you guys were given in week 1 and open up your editorial article. So let me go ahead and do that. It's so weird. I've taught this class so many different times and I've never had that style sheet issue, so I'm not sure what's going on there. It's a new thing for me here. All right, let's go to lectures, week 1. I'm gonna put this in my folder here. And it should be the feature. It'll say feature, and then it'll have, you know, whatever the document is named for the fit me, just as the fittest, what is this? It'll say get your fittest ever. And it's going to be long. It's going to be, because we have a lot of text, it's going to be similar to this. What you want to do is a spell check before you do anything. So go ahead and select all, go in Word, and run your spell check through Tools, Spelling and Grammar, and change anything That looks not right. You can do change all if it's like a simple word that you think might be repeatedly misspelled throughout. So there's several, and this could happen, you know. You could be handed a Word file that they didn't do a spell check for, so you want to make sure you're definitely checking for this. Okay, when you're done, go ahead and do a select all again, and then a Command C to copy your text. And then what I would suggest is I would just go ahead and take your type tool and just drag out a big copy box for just putting it in here at first, a new Command V, just paste it in here. Now you can see there's some spacing issues in here, so you might need to go in and delete some spacing. Just make sure you're not deleting anything else like I am. Kind of fix this as we go forward with your paragraph styles. Take another type tool, go ahead and drag out another box. Another type tool, drag out another box. Do another type box. And these are just, you know, you're not going to leave it to one column, obviously, but this is just to get the copy in here. Go ahead and click on your first type box, and then there's that little red box. You want to click right on that little red box to copy that information that's not showing and paste it into your second column. Do it again if you see that red box still, and you want to link this anyway to your very last page. And then there's still more copy here, but that's fine. We'll definitely go in and change this. Now, whatever you set your body copy on your editorial is what your body copy should be set to consistently on every page. So what I mean by that is your paragraph style. So let's go to your styles. Your body copy should not change. It should be consistent on every page. So whatever the body copy was set to here, point-wise, needs to be the same here. It already looks like it's already set to the body copy here. So right now I have my body copy set, and I know some of you guys were talking about what is a good percentage point value-wise for the typeface, point size, and leading. And my body copy is set to, once this is brought up here, I'll show you. .11 times is my body copy, and then 14 point leading. Now, the thing that you want to check, and some of you guys had issues with, is, and I showed this last week, if you double click on your paragraph style, you already set this in here, make sure that you go to your indents and spacings for your body copy only. Go to align to grid and make sure this is selected all lines. What you might find, and once you set that, it might track it out really far, so the leading might be real loose. If that's the case, go up to your preferences up here, select InDesign, choose preferences up here, choose units and increments. Let's see here. I'm sorry, not units. You choose grids, not units and increments. It's still under preferences. So I'll show that again. Preferences, instead of units and increments, go to grids. And set your increment level. And it might be different because mine was set to like 11. I'll show you what happens if I set this back to like 12. See how spaced out this is now? So I don't want that. I want this to be set lower so it's not so spaced out. So I want to go, to my preferences again. Grids, I want to change this. I'm going to change it to 9. And you'll see it's kind of pulled in the way, you know, the line spacing will be tighter. And this should be pretty normal to what the 10-point, 14-point leading is. If you want to see what that looks like normally, so let's say you just do a type box and you fill it with, say, fill placeholder text. Give it the times, what is it, times, did I have a set of times? Yeah, times 11, 14-point leading. This is how you could kind of base this off of. This is without it being set to align to grid. So that's exactly perfect. Perfectly set. Sometimes that baseline in your preferences will change it up. Well, you're welcome. It's a little tricky, but kind of be mindful of that. I know sometimes when you change that and it's like, oh my gosh, why did that get so spaced out? That's the reason. All right, so with that being said, I have to figure out a grid structure because I have these images that I have to place in here as well. And the images, the problem I'm having is when I use my body font, it moves everything to where only a little bit is on the 4th page. Okay, so you just want to make sure your body copy your copy boxes are linked. And then your spaces are also, you're paying attention to your spaces. They're not too spaced out. I don't know if that's something that we can take a look at later here. And then obviously you want your headline to be similar to, everything that you have consistent in your book. Sometimes you can have a different headline style, obviously, for this article, so you can change it up. Just make sure you're creating a new paragraph style for that. Here's the byline. And then this is the first paragraph that you had set, over here. So you can set that similar to, probably put like space here. Like for instance, say if I wanted this to be bigger, so I'm going to maybe do a new paragraph style for this, a new paragraph style, and I'll name this feature story headline 1. And say I wanted to make this extra big. And I want it to be a different color. Let's do like a 70% black, for instance. And then just make sure you select it here. And then this baby is secondary, so you create a new paragraph style for this and name this feature story headline 2. So that's a little smaller and different. So I'll bring this down in size. Let's try like 45, 44. Let's do auto leading and character color. Let's try maybe red. And once you look at it, you can obviously change it. So I'm going to definitely change this to be smaller. I don't want it to be super big. Maybe even on one line. Maybe do all caps. Oops, let's see, drop caps. And you don't want a line to a grid on that. Okay, just because that's a separate. If you do that, you might have some hard times like having it set in the way that you want to spacing wise. You only want aligning just your body copy aligned to a grid. All right, not paying attention here. I want all caps, so let's go to all caps and I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. There we go. Okay. And maybe make this a little bit bigger. Once you have it set, in the paragraph style, you can see your changes happening as you do it. Something like that. Maybe a little bit more leading in there. And then, you know, maybe you want fit to have a character style. So I'm going to do a new character style, make this, maybe just type in fit so you know it's the word, because maybe it's the only time that you're going to use it. And I think we're using universe, but we're going to do bold and maybe have this set in red. Oh, that's kind of big. Let's set this back to a condensed bold. My color is a percentage tint, so we're going to take it to 100%. There we go. And I still kind of maybe want it to be condensed, just bold. So let's do bold condensed. Let's do, yeah, that is condensed. That's going to be really big. That looks good. Something like that. And then, like, say my first paragraph style is blue, maybe changing that first paragraph. All you need to do is, let's select off of here, is select your first paragraph. If you want to change this for just your featured article, go up to the upper right-hand corner and say duplicate style, but rename this first paragraph and then name this maybe feature. So you know that that's for the feature. And maybe the only thing that you're changing here is the character color. Maybe you're using red. Just make sure you're selecting that. So whenever you are selecting your style here, you're changing it to feature. All right, and then, you know, obviously your subheads, you can do new subheads based on the feature. Mine are blue right here, so obviously maybe for my subheads, maybe I would do a duplicate subhead and then just name this subhead feature and just make this red or something. You know, just something easy to change it to. That would be consistent with my colors. Everything else looks good, and I'll change my line length and all that. This is bullet copy here. I think it starts here. So I want to make sure. A lot of you guys had spacing issues with your bulleted copy, and that's because the spacing was already set in there. So like here, I would say adjust your line spacing. So I would hit delete, and you could do maybe one space, or you can do a tab. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to delete all spaces here. Let's set that as a tab in our style sheet. So what I mean by that is we're going to go ahead and change this bulleted copy. So go ahead, double click on your style sheet, and let's go to tabs, and we're going to set a tab probably around 0.25 is probably a good, I wouldn't go any more than that. Set it right there and do a left justified tab and click OK. And then once you set that, put your cursor in between your bullet point and your word and hit tab. Now you might have to do it here too. Once, you know, I'll fix this, you know, once this comes down here, I'll fix this once we do our columns, but that'll set it. So now if you wanted to say make it smaller, just double click on bold bulleted copy, go to tabs and pull this back a little bit more, and I'll take it back. You know, 1.67 is a good distance too. I wouldn't go too small, but that's a good distance right here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and change my subheads in here. I might need to take out some extra spacing. Oops, wrong one. some extra spaces that you might need to deal with based on your article here. Here's more bulleted copy that I need to set. And that's what makes it nice. See how easy that was just to change it? So it makes your life a lot easier. You know, you don't have to go and keep changing all of that. Forgot this part, this one. Let me zoom out here so I can actually see. Any questions about what I went over so far? And I'm going to change my line lengths. Do not keep your line length like this. I will definitely call you out on that. This is too long. Break it up at least into 2 columns, if not more. Any questions about that? Okay, so we want to make this visually interesting. We want the reader to come in and really want to take a look at this a little further in detail, be interested in reading this article. So we want the page to be visually interesting, right? And we want it to be balanced too. Yep, we're going to do columns. Yep. So there's different ways you can do the columns. You can either pull your actual body copy column over to create your columns. If you do this and you want another column here, it's a little tougher because you have this column here. You'll just need to drag it back up here. Or if you want to do it this way, you select this whole column and then you go up to your type and you choose, I'm sorry, it's object. I always go up to type. I think I did that before. Go up to object, text frame options. And this is where you can change. If you hit preview, you'll see it change. This will be where you can change your columns. See how I'm changing that? So that's how you would change it. And then you can kind of pull this down if you want to kind of play around with where you want it. Or you could just totally take this out completely and just play around with the one and pull this over. If you just want one column this way, or let's pull this down here. If, say, you wanted to do 2 columns here, but maybe not necessarily with your headline, you know what I mean by that? So, here, let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so go to Object, Text Frame Options, and if I hit 2 columns, watch what happens to, oops, let me select it first. Watch what happens to my headline. So this gets affected too, and that's fine. If that's what you want, that's okay. If you didn't want that, I'm going to click OK, and you wanted, say, this to be kind of excluded out of there, go ahead and copy that and delete it out of there. And take a new type, draw out a new type box above it and just paste that in. And that way, say if you wanted just this to be 1 column and this to be 2 column, you can kind of control it in that regards. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? Okay. I have some images that I'm going to place in here that were given to me in the folder. And I looked at all of these images. Let me show you. Let me see if I can show you what these images look like here. Images. You would go to your feature images. There's 4 of them in my box here. In my folder, I should say, not box. Let me open these up so you can at least see them. I would definitely take a look at them before you obviously place them in there. You will definitely want to read through the article too. I forgot to mention that. It's always good to kind of read through the article, the feature article itself, so you kind of know what it's all about. Okay, so this is my images, and here is the folder. Let me try to make this bigger. So this is one of the images which I think would be great for the inside spread. It's really nice and big. And you have this image for this feature, this image, and this image. So reading the article will allow you to think, okay, I want to put this image, this image maybe on the front because it kind of relates to what the article is talking about in the beginning. So it's really important to kind of read that article so you know the proper placement for each image. I'm going to go ahead and draw out an image box here, and I'm going to place the first image. And it's completely up to you. You're going to do a grid structure of yours. So I'm going to go ahead and place fitting fill frame proportionately. I'm going to fit this in here the best that I think this will look the best here. Okay, this is where, the colors come into play. So I will probably take my eyedropper tool and select the blue in her shirt. And this is the blue that I would definitely use for these elements above here. So let me go ahead and set this blue color. I'm gonna copy that and go to my paragraph style. I'm sorry, my style sheet. So see that B. I'm gonna go ahead and change this to this color. So I just pasted that in there. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, take my eyedropper tool and just select. Oops. And just click right on there. So I'm changing it to that color. And that just kind of makes it look more unified. Same thing, maybe if I wanted to copy the purple or the pink in this ball. Let's do the purple. No, let's do pink. I like the pink. And then you could change, say, your character style where it says fit. We can change this character color to better reflect. Oh, we have to add that as a swatch, sorry. So let me if you want to add that to, say, a character style or a paragraph style, just go ahead and double click and then say add RGB swatch and click OK. That's going to add it to your swatches. So if I were to double click on my fit, now if I go back to character color, it's going to be right here and here, and I'll change it to that. Same thing with the paragraph style. The only thing here is I think it's a little hard to see, and it's okay in the bigger fat letters, but I think, if I set that in my body copy, say my feature, first paragraph feature, it's going to be way too light. And I'll show you here what I mean by that. See how light that is? So instead, maybe I'm just going to do a 70% black, kind of like what I did. So it's a little different, but it's readable too. The headline, subhead feature, let's do feature headline 2. I think this is where it needs to be changed to. We'll just change that to black. No, you don't have to have the first paragraph color. That's a good question. Oh, here's my byline. See, I knew that was kind of something was going on because I had that little red box. So make sure your byline's in there. Nope, you don't have to have it colored at all. It's, completely up to you. Make this a little smaller. What I would say is just kind of balance out your imagery with your, I wouldn't have your type too close to the image. Balance everything out. Make sure, I'm going to pull this up a little bit because I think I have extra copy here. Here we go. And I'm going to bring this up so it's aligning with this baseline. So if I were to draw a line here with this body copy on the left side of my page, I want to make sure my baseline is right at that same baseline on the right, which it is, but I just can't get this line drawn correctly here. Let me zoom in here. So just kind of pay attention to that. Where are my guides? Sorry, unlock my guides. See how this line here is the baseline of my left copy? This should be set the same. I shouldn't have copy set below this on the right side. It should all be aligned. Okay? So that's kind of paying attention to those small details there. So let me show you what this looks like without all the guides here. Make sure you have your byline in there. I'm gonna pull this up just a little bit. So I have just some space in between here. I could probably pull this up just a little bit more. Have a little bit more space in between here. You don't want it to be all crammed. And that's what I mean about proximity, you know, kind of paying attention to this, the white space needed to kind of section off your copy. All right, so then that looks pretty good. And we might need to adjust this still. You know, my subheads, I think I need to adjust to color-wise. Now, let's see my subhead feature. Let's change that to, let's see my pink color here. That doesn't look too bad. So now, this is the important part. I don't want to come in here and say, okay, let's make this. This is what I don't want to see. I don't want to see very copy heavy double page spread. Have fun with this. You know, kind of even out your copy and your imagery so you're creating a really interesting and dynamic look, so it's not so copy heavy. Now, you might have some issues with fitting all the copy in here. We'll have to talk about that in a second, and we'll kind of have to adjust based on, you know, how much copy that you have. But let's see, you could do something like this where the image takes up pretty much all of this area. So I just did an image box, and you guys can't see that. Let me switch to my normal. You did an image box here, for instance. I'm going to do Command Paste, and I'm going to choose the bigger image that I think would work really well here. I'm going to fit it to my box, and this is a bleed, so I'm going to actually send it to my bleed. And I'm going to send to back, because I want you to see, I wouldn't place type over top of this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete this entire copy box, and that's not going to delete it totally. It's just going to move it over here. And then with this, I'm actually going to, I'm going to go back to my text frame options. I'm going to make this 1 again. 1 copy box, so I can kind of play around with this. Move this down so it's not right next to my feature. But see how I kind of, now it's not so copy heavy. I have this really visually interesting image here where it's taking up 3/4 or 1/3 of the page, and then you have the copy here, which I could probably have this set into 2 columns still too, if I wanted to. Looks like it might work, where it's not too spaced. I'm going to pull this just a little bit to the left here. I want equal space on my left side. I'm paying attention to my margins as on the right. And then just kind of making sure I have enough space. Pull this just a little bit more. Here we go. Above here, so it's not too close to my feature tab. Now this is definitely something I need to fix down here, but for the most part, it looks pretty good. I could probably take out the spaces, and after each of these, just do a shift return. It'll gain me more space. My tabs, yeah, my tabs need to be set again. Let's see, bullet copy. There we go. And before I do that, let me put a return here. There we go. I'm not changing my copy before that. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and jump over to this page and see how much copy we have left over here. So this is page 6. Let me see if I can divide this up at least into 2 and see how much copy I have left over here. Now to see if I have enough what copy I have left, I have a little red box again showing here saying, hey, there's still more copy. I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to click over here randomly just to see how much copy I have left. So I have about, it's actually a lot more than I thought, about this much copy. So that's, a pretty significant amount of copy. So what I might do is kind of play around with this. So what I might want to do is maybe pull this in so that it's 2 copy boxes like I did before. And then just kind of play around with the layout here so that I have more copy kind of showing. But making it visually interesting. I might have to change a couple things in here. But you really want to make sure that all fits too. You don't want to have anything not fit. That's not good. Okay. This is where it gets kind of weird here. Let me put this up here. Let's see if we can put this down here a little bit. There we go. And what that does is it just brings up more of my copies so that I have more to kind of play around with. Let me pull this in so it aligns with this column. There we go. I have it bleeding off of that right side. So then it brings up all of my copy here and all of my copy here. Looks like I have less here. Okay. All right. So it's just finagling. If I need to pull this in, that's fine. If I even need to just pull it in, so I'm just utilizing one of these, just that one whole page, I can do that and just bring this over. There we go. There's an extra space here I can get rid of. So see how I'm kind of evening out that space so I have a little less copy going on here. Let's try to pull this in maybe even more so maybe I can get here. Just trying to get more. You know what I think I did in my last demo? I had smaller body copy. So it's just kind of, kind of massaging it and seeing what works. I'm going to pull this over. Obviously, I don't want two columns here. Yeah, so you're just, kind of figuring out what works. So I'm going to drag all of this back up here. Oops. Come on, you moving? All right. And if you're doing I know the relocation, the modeling one, I'm sorry, the remodeler, I know there's a lot of type in there too. So it's just kind of seeing what works here. All right. I would say keep it level. So wherever you start here on this column, because of this tab, keep this column the same on the baseline. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this up a little bit, gain some space. So you're kind of seeing how I'm playing around with this to gain more space. Pull this up just slightly. Maybe even trying to get all of this on one line here eventually. And then the right, there we go. That might actually work really well. And I'm going to align maybe where this ends is where I'm going to align my copy here. There we go. The only bad thing is I have this this issue here. So what I might want to do, it's a little tricky. Pull this down maybe once. Let me see how many. Oh, and then I have that issue. So let me see if I can bring this up just enough. Nope, that's going to be a big issue. So I'm just going to choose to go down a little bit more, so I'm not having that weird thing going on. All right, and that's going to push everything a little differently here too. I can also adjust the spacing in between here, but I think this looks pretty good. I wouldn't really play around with that too much. Let me see how much copy I have here. Okay, so not too much. It's just kind of finagling this little paragraph here. Yeah, I think my type size is a little bigger than what I originally started with my other class that I taught. I started with a smaller point size. So if you have a smaller point size in your type, you might have an easier time with this because you have more room because of that. I see some spacings here that I can free up. And then you have also this type of spacing where you can kind of bring that up too. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. All right, so if you double click on your body copy, you can pull your tracking in. I wouldn't go any bigger than, or any more than -5. That just pulls your copy in. So if you have, say, like one word here, this will be bumped up to the next line. So it kind of gives you a little bit more space. I'm not going to scale this because I'll have to actually adjust this. I'm going to pull this up just slightly and see what I can do here again. See, I have more image over here. Okay, this would probably be where I would need it to be, but now I have to change this out a little bit. So I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to make this again one column. I'm just going to make this just a little smaller so that it goes with my headline. It's just a little smaller. Because I do have a big headline, so that kind of works well together. There we go. But then it also fixes my issues down here. I do still have orphans I need to deal with, or I'm sorry, widows, but I'll play around with that. Let's see, let me pull this just a little bit more left. So you can see how it's adjusting. There we go, we got some space here, and that's good. I want this probably about this amount of space because we still need to do pull quotes. So this is a good space to have here. Now, you'll even this out, obviously, as we put pull quotes and all that good stuff. What if you did 3? Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't see your suggestion there. Now, there's some orphans going on I need to fix in here, but that's, you know, that's pretty much what you'll need to do, kind of adjust some things. So it's just kind of playing around with it, seeing kind of how things fit, and then you'll just, I would say, leave the looking for widows and orphans until the very end when you have everything set, so that you're not going back and deleting spaces out as you're shifting your line. So I will skip kind of fixing all this stuff until I do my pull quotes. You have to have 2 pull quotes in here, And I haven't done that yet, but I do see a lot of widows and orphans going on, but I'm not going to fix them until I put my pull quotes in, because they will bump, you know, if you have it with a text wrap, your pull quotes in there, it will bump your, you know, body copy differently. Any questions for what I went over so far? I did go over a lot of stuff. So I don't know why, like I said, I don't know why this bar is up here. That's something I need to figure out. In my style sheets here, it's driving me nuts. Let me see if I save that like that. No, it's not included on that, but you know what? It shouldn't include it. It's really strange. Very strange. I have to figure this out. Now let me look into this a little bit further. I don't know why this is affecting my page, my A master page here. But something's going on. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the overriding. I've never had that issue before. It's probably something that I'm totally missing. It's something super easy. Let me put the none over here. Yeah, see, even when I put none, it's still placing it over there. So I'm almost wondering. Select unused master. I know. Something I'm not getting here, and it's driving me nuts. So yeah, but what's really weird, it's not doing it on this one, which, okay, it's showing on the left side. It's just really strange. To figure it out. All right, so that's, I'm going to stop here because I'm going to adjust a lot of this copy. And we still have 2 pull quotes to add in here, a couple other things to take a look at, and then obviously how to save out. So I'm going to kind of leave it here. I gave you guys a lot of information. Thursday, we'll kind of wrap it up, and I'll show you kind of add the pull quotes in there, how to adjust the copy after we do the pull quotes. And hopefully I'll figure out what the heck's going on with this up here, why that's doing that. That way, if you run into the same problem, you're not, you kind of know what to do. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'll have to dig a little deeper. But I'll kind of stop here, see if you guys have any questions. If you want to show any work, we can have some time to do that. I do not want to write a 600-word paper. That sounds very overwhelming. Good luck with that. Does anybody have any questions or want to show anything at this point? Everybody's like, nope. All right, so I'm going to stop. I'll stop sharing. You can go ahead and I'll unmute you here, Misty. If you want to share your screen, go for it.
Didn't mean you actually had to unmute me, but okay. See, it just doesn't look right to me. And I do have my images in the back, as you see, but with my body from my editor, or letter from the editor. That's what it looks like, and I don't know what I should do to fix it besides adjusting a few things.
Oh, you're just talking about like the actual copy itself?
Yeah.
Okay. So select your copy with your type tool.
Yeah.
Okay. See how there's a plus sign in your paragraph styles?
Mm-hmm.
It's telling me that something was changed in there without, after the fact that you created that body style. So double click on that body style sheet, paragraph style. Yeah, see how it just changed? Go to basic character format. Okay, change that to 14-point leading. Click OK. I would probably change this so it's like a Baskerville, something a little bit more. Double click on that body copy style sheet again. Instead of doing the Thornberry, if you had Thornbury, change that to like Times New Roman.
I don't like those things.
And then font style, change it to regular. Well, you may not like it, but it's a little easier to read and it's more fitting for.
It's too plain.
Readability for your, there you go.
But see, it's still.
And then I go up to your InDesign menu, preferences. So where it says InDesign, choose preferences and go to grids.
That one.
And then I would change that, oh, it says 14. Change the threshold to 75%. See where it says increment every 14. Click OK. And then, okay. Yeah, so you can work with that. Now you have to change your subheads and all that. Click off of it so you can see what it looks like. Yeah.
With my images the way they are, should I just do one column?
Well, your images are distorted. Some of them are distorted. So the one on the right's distorted. You make sure that that's not being distorted. It looks stretched vertically. Click on your selection tool in your toolbar, and I'll show you how to look for that. And then click on that image of the lady in the, yeah.
Hold on. I may just have to redo everything.
Okay, so let's see here. Go to your properties box. See where it says property. Go to window, property, in your menu bar.
Up here?
Window, yeah, up there on window, properties. Okay, that's gonna just link to file. Can you double click on that image with your selection tool? There we go. Okay, see up on the very top, you have a right and a down arrow on your menu bar. It says 38.95 by 78. Okay,
Yeah, no.
it's not in the property box. It's at the very top of your menu bar. Underneath.
Oh, no, I can't see it because I got this right here in my way where it shows the people and all that.
Okay, so double
Hold
click.
on. I might be able to move it down. Hold on. All right. All right, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, see where it says 38.95?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those two numbers should be exactly the same. So 38 and the 78 need to be the same size. So I would do like 78 for the top number and 78 for the bottom number. And that will be, yeah, see how that's not stretching it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how you would check to see if you have a distorted image.
Okay.
I would take out the blue background. It's really desaturating your images and making it harder to read the imagery, the copy.
Yeah.
It's okay to have color blocks. I just think that if you're using it with the images, it's kind of dulling that and making it look, it's definitely making it hard to read. So I would kind of make sure you have contrast where your type is. And it doesn't mean it has to be plain. So you can kind of add color, just be careful where you add the color. Especially the light blue with the images, that kind of sucks kind of like the color from a lot of the images.
Okay.
But
yeah, a moment ago when I was trying to fix this stupid thing, I could not get this right here to select. I was having like.
Well, you need it. In the master page.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to. Did you double click on the master page there?
I did. I got it selected now, so I can change the font size like you suggested. It was just giving me a pain in the butt, so it is what it is. But I will go in and, I mean, as far as the rest of it, because see, I need to go in and change my images anyways because they're kind of like messed up.
Mm-hmm.
But how should I mean, as far as my text and stuff like that, or my copy, I don't know what I'm trying to say. This stuff right here.
You don't have to have the images always in the background. You can have them, as I showed, kind of integrating with the type. It doesn't always have to be kind of transparent in the background. And that way you'll kind of utilize and balance your space better, balance your type and imagery a little bit better. So kind of play around with that. You saw my demo and how I kind of play around with the images and where to place them and balance with the type and the image balance, that you're doing on both pages.
Yeah, so, basically just tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, just play around with your grids on each page. Make sure it's not too copy heavy.
Yeah, how do I, before I sign off, how do I fix my baseline so it's good on everything?
Okay, so go to your body copy style sheet that you just changed. Style guide, yeah, style. Double click. And then go to your indents and spacing. And then see it says it's aligned to grid at the very bottom. Select that and choose all lines. I thought you had that selected. So this might change your leading. Click OK. It might shift your leading here. Oh no, it's not bad. Okay, so anytime that you have, so you're good. Save this. Anytime that you shift your columns of type, it'll snap it to the baseline for each column. So you won't have a shift.
Okay.
And it'll align.
Is my baseline up here where I check it? Excuse me.
Your grids? That's kind of
like my baseline grid. Is this this is what I want to keep it at whenever I do something?
Yeah, this is the increment level. So see how it's 14 points?
Yeah.
Cancel that. I'll show you something real quick with that.
Okay.
Cancel that. Go up to view on your menu bar. The very top right. There you go. And go to grids and guides. And show baseline grid. Okay, and then zoom in on that page. So zoom in, because you might not see it unless you zoom in. Okay, see the baseline grid right there? Now go up, don't zoom out, keep that like that. Go up to InDesign again, your preferences. And go to grids. And pull that to the right a little bit so you can see when you change it. Yeah, go and then change it to, put increment level of, I don't know, 20 just to see it change. So right now you have it 14. If you set it to 20, I want to show you what that looks like and click OK.
That's horrible.
But see how it kind of changed?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to undo that. Just Command Z or go up to InDesign. There you go. So it changed the spacing of your grid. So it's tapping on that grid. So if it's too spaced out, you want to change that points percentage there.
Okay. So the baseline is basically what makes it look like you're writing on a notebook.
Right. It's the very bottom part of your lines that are kind of aligned together. So see how that first column is aligning with the second column? bottom of the baselines of each line of text.
Yeah.
That's baselines. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if you didn't have that selected, say the right column might be shifted a little bit so it's not quite aligned.
Okay.
But with that alignment selected, that will never be the case. It's always going to snap it to alignment.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Alex. I think she just left.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Everybody left except for you and I.
Okay. Thank you do you have any other questions?
No, that's all. Thank you.
That's it? All right. So I will wrap this up on Thursday. We'll kind of go over some other things. If you have any questions, bring it in on Thursday and
Okay.
we'll go forward with that.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Misty. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.